Live now.
Hello, welcome to Node Foundation TSC meeting for the 12th of January 2017. So let's just get straight into it with a quick review of last meeting. If my browser would respond and let me change tabs. No, it's not going to let me change tabs. Oh, there we go. Okay. Review of last meeting. We talked about travel fund. We talked about the working group. The copyright thing is still going. We're talking about that again. Oh, sorry. More travel fund, node core, defining scope of node core, which is coming back this week. Hopefully we can close that out. And we had a quick update on the NVM stuff. So actually not a whole lot of substance to the last one. This was middle of December anyway, so it was a while ago. So let's get straight into it and jump through some of these items that we have on the list. First one is adding info about YouTube access. Who was this? Was this Jeremiah?
That's William.
No, that was me. So I added the agenda item label to this just as update. A few meetings back, maybe a month or more back, we had talked about access to YouTube, and I had said that I would add some text for basically what Michael Rogers had kind of just verbally dumped out on the call. And so that text just reflects that. So it's documented.
I think in light of pre-discussion in today's meeting, we should probably amend this to be very explicit about the fact that you cannot schedule a meeting at the same time as someone else.
Right, and it's almost like we need a gap space because.
I think more people are using that shared calendar I'm keeping up to date, so maybe that'll help. Unfortunately, sometimes things don't get added until like the couple days before, because that's when they're decided. So might not help.
So are you saying if people run back-to-back meetings that it's the problem with not being able to wrap up and get the next one going in time?
Well, our speculation was that if the other meeting had run over, that would prevent the next meeting from starting up the recording.
Oh yeah, definitely, yeah.
So, because I spent 10 minutes trying to get to start up, and I logged in all the different ways I could think of, and I never got the button that said start the recording.
Yeah, again, I don't think this used to be an issue with Hangouts, but if it's going over YouTube Live, definitely YouTube Live is just one thing for the channel. There is one link to it, and you can only have one stream up on a time per channel there. So
I just spun up the Hangouts that I scheduled for for the Diagnostics WG meeting next week, and it did come on, and it's giving me the option to start broadcast, even though we're streaming the one.
Interesting.
So that's where it's super frustrating.
So we need to. How are we going to do this then? How are we going to coordinate the different groups? We're just going to tell them that if they have a meeting scheduled afterwards, they have to stop at the top of the hour.
That's going to be a bit difficult. Meetings invariably go late.
Or stop broadcasting at least.
Yeah, stop broadcasting it. But I don't know.
Actually, maybe this is on the heads of the person that has the next meeting to go and ping the person in that previous meeting and say, hey, I would like to start, and you're still going.
Yeah.
If you guys have a quick chance, I'm sharing my screen, and I just want to check with you, Michael. Yep. You see now when you go into the events section, what you see if you don't do anything is just this, and that's confusing. But then if you change it to like upcoming, here I can see mine and like start Hangout. I see yours, it says it never happened actually. So I'm wondering if
So I went there and I could see the diagnostic one and mine, and that's where I clicked to start Hangout on air.
Let's move this to one of the threads and try to figure stuff out.
Okay.
So I'm not sure this pull request is a place to do that, but I don't know any better place to put a note about anything about this. So is there anyone that disagrees with the pull request here to add the thing about YouTube access?
No. Fine with it.
Yeah, I think you can just move ahead with that.
Great.
Let me just quick. I'm taking minutes here as well. Okay, update to travel fund doc. This was Anna, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, that was me.
Anything controversial in here that you want to draw attention to?
I don't think so. So far, basically everyone has just been agreeing. I don't know if this is the kind of thing that the TSC needs to vote on, but yeah, just look at it. And
It's got the table down at the bottom. Yep.
Why don't we say that if there are no objections by Monday, let's land it.
Yep.
Yep, sounds good to me.
okay.
Okay, security working group. James, you were saying we just take this off the agenda for now?
Yeah, the work group is making progress. We've had a couple meetings. The last one they were talking about, or we were talking about charter and trying to draft that up. It's still pending, but it is making progress. So there's really nothing for us to do.
Okay. So the next one is this copyright thing. So we have a request from James to the foundation to get in front of the legal committee the two pull requests that have been prepared, the alternative pull requests. The first one restores copyright attribution header in all files still remaining from original commit that removed them. The second one reverts that restoration and proposes a new copyright attribution header block in the new JSH and CC files located in lib and source. So that's put in node repo pull request 10155 and 10599. I believe there's some additional context here. Some people not even wanting to put the restoration committee in because it adds a lot of git noise that becomes frustrating. But I don't know if that's something we even have the ability to negotiate on. So I will take that to the next board meeting and get the board to pass that on to the legal committee. Apparently that's the way you have to do it. You have to get something in front of the board to go to the legal committee. And then we'll send it off into the void and hope for something to come back.
So
they're the ones that are pressing for this. So I think that they'll, if they want action, then the ball's in their court. So hopefully it won't take too long.
I have a dumb question. Does it have to be presented in a board meeting first before it can be sent to the legal committee to overview?
That is my understanding. I have been told that on multiple occasions by Michael. Yeah.
that's my understanding as well, because the legal committee answers to the board. They take direction from the board. They can't do anything unless the board asks them to.
And this is lawyers we're talking about. They don't like to take a position on anything unless they are asked very strongly to.
Oh, okay, yeah. Because when I think of legal committee, I think I end up thinking of the board members that sit on the legal committee as opposed to the lawyers that also provide the direct input. Okay.
Yeah, I mean we're essentially asking them to take a position that they could be liable for at some point in the future.
Yeah.
And
I think for me, this is going to be a challenge that I need to write down for the board meeting. I think this is something just that we had discussed in December about process overall and seeing how much we could do over email versus a meeting every 30 to 45 days. So, yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Some things do have one email, if I understand correctly, and I mean this just falls under action without meeting stipulation of the bylaws.
Yeah. Okay.
For the legal committee.
Well, for anything on the board.
Yeah.
I mean, I could pass it via email and see what happens. I just don't know. Like, I need somebody else to champion that. I get whenever it comes to legal matters, I get pushback. So.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Was like I get the process behind the board needing to see it first to ask the subcommittee. But yeah, I think there isn't a lot of clarity on what resolutions we can introduce and pass in email versus the meeting. So I just want clarity on that because it helps my work too. So.
Yeah, I think it might be worth it while, Rod, for you just go ahead and send an email on this. If nothing else, see what happens. Maybe this is one of those things where we just haven't chartered what that course looks like to, email the board instead of like waiting for a meeting. I mean, I guess the worst that can happen is they say no, but, it's definitely worth a shot because we could do this over email. I think that would make everyone's lives easier too.
Yeah, agreed. And anyway, they have to see all of it in text anyway. I mean, the lawyers need that document, so. It's not like you're just going to introduce the sentence in a meeting.
Yeah, but again, though, we're talking about lawyers here and their reluctance to take a position on anything.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, I'm just taking notes here.
Now, we need to. One thing we do need to decide is what is our course of action going to be should we not get a timely response from the legal committee? What is our follow-up going to be? Is it just we do nothing and sit and wait until we eventually get a response? Or do we escalate or what? So that's something we'll need to think about. We don't necessarily need to decide right now, but.
My recommendation is setting deadlines. I don't think I would say if you just manage expectations when you're sending this communication for requesting the legal committee look at it, just say we've been, you guys brought up this stuff in December or even November. I mean, on top of all the other months. I would just set a deadline and say we need to move on this.
Well, no, this is a slightly separate issue, which is they have been requesting this from us with increasing urgency as as we haven't had action, and now the ball's back in their court. And so I think I'm not sure that we're the ones that want to set the deadline on this particular thing. This is something that mostly the CTC doesn't even want. So let's just put it in their court and say, look, you want action on this, you make it happen. Otherwise, this thing's going to sit. But I don't think they will let it sit because Joint has been putting legal pressure on. So
makes sense.
So somewhat related is TSC issue 139, which is it's only vaguely related in that it's the one asking about switching the default license from MIT to Apache 2. That has the TSC agenda label on it, but I don't know if, well, I mean, you removed it you didn't add it to this agenda. I don't know if we're going to have much movement on that. Should we remove that label for now?
I would.
Yeah, this is another one of those things that I put in front of the.
I mean, that's
legal
going to be a
committee.
long-term, slow-moving thing.
I get that's something I could actually add to the request. Oh no, I guess no. Last time I sent multiple requests to the legal committee, we got all jumbled. So one discrete thing at a time, probably.
Yes, let's do one at a time. The whole idea of switching to the license to Apache it's a whole mess of things that would need to happen for that, and I do not want to get those conversations tangled up, because what will inevitably happen is the decision to do anything will get pushed off.
Yeah, well, the issue 139 is about default license, not the license of the Node.js node repo. So it shouldn't be that complex.
It could still lead to a much longer conversation that would push off any action on this.
It's true. This is lawyers we're talking about.
Yeah. I want to give them smaller things to decide on so we can move faster.
Yep, agree. And especially with the Apache licensing, that's gonna, if we do decide to take that route, that's gonna be a really big undertaking to begin with. So I think that's something that they will need to understand how complex that is as well. And so yeah, definitely one thing at a time.
Okay. Okay, good. I'll try and do that straight after this meeting. Last on this list is issue 144, defining node core. We're pretty close except for two minor nits that came up since I updated that. I've just fixed them locally. The HTTP working group being decharted, is there an HTTP team at all, or is that purely CTC?
There's still a team. Team, though, it's just informal, just for reviewing HTTP related pull requests. And as a side note, there's also an HTTP2 team now working on the.
Okay, so I've been putting these additional notes in there saying administration is delegated to whichever body, but it's managed by something or other team. So maybe I should put HTTP team and HTTP2 team.
Yep. No, definitely think that would be good.
I see lots of excitement around the HTTP2 work, so well done on corralling that.
Yes, the live stream for the meeting was quite a few viewers, so that was neat.
Okay, so any final, barring fixing those nits, which I've just done, push the commit, any objections to just landing this thing now, finally? I think we're all agreed that it's the way to go.
Yes, looks great.
Please.
I think it looks good to me. I do have one question going forward about this. So we have this list of teams and stuff. Have we put any thought into how we're going to make sure that that stays up to date? Is that something that would be the responsibility of like working groups and teams to do? Like, if a team changes, that part of that process of changing is maybe they submit a PR to the TSC repo, or I don't know. What does everyone else think?
You mean the team name or the members of the team?
Team name, members of the team, who they report to, who they're delegated to, all because all that information is sort of included for each team currently.
Yeah. And list of repos, even all that sort of stuff. I was envisaging it like Wikipedia, where occasionally it would just get updated because somebody noticed that something was out of sync.
Okay, I can get behind that.
We can formalize it later if we 4 months down the track we look at it and say, wow, this is this is way out of sync. We got to make this a process thing.
Uh,
Yeah, that's a good. We're not sure.
keeping the teams in sync. The GitHub bot managing the member script is out there, waiting for somebody to review it, maybe. And if nothing happens, eventually, I guess I'll just hit the merge button on it. But hoping somebody will take a look at it. Once that's
Jeremiah, can you take a look at that one?
I can take a look soon.
once that's done, hopefully people will start changing their readmes to allow the bot to manage their lists, and that'll keep it in sync then.
So that lets us manage the list between the team and what's on the workgroup page, or?
Yeah, the GitHub team, it'll synchronize the GitHub team and therefore the permissions that come with it, and the list that's in the README.
Okay. Which direction?
You do a PR to the README, and when the PR is accepted, then the bot synchronizes the lists.
Excellent. Okay.
Okay. So that's that. Now, the next thing, Tracy wanted to talk about community committee.
Yeah, it's mostly just letting people know if they didn't notice already that there was a new repo. I'm really trying to reach out to folks right now. If you can think of like important organizations in the Node ecosystem, like Node School and Node Bots, and you know, like Hoodie as a community group is really awesome, or like something that we depend on or don't depend on from like a code standpoint, but is really a group that we work with a lot. We'd love to hear them represented in the community committee, and we'd love your participation. So something that's really important to the health of this group is making sure that we're working alongside the TSC as much as possible, because y'all have paved the way in so much of what we're trying to build. And there's a lot of work to be done even just in the charter that's up for PR right now. So if I can get kind eyes on that, that would be much appreciated. I think we've had a few people already.
I have a question, Tracy, about process.
Yeah.
My understanding was that this was it was only still at proposal stage in front of the board. Do we need to get board sign off first before we do anything else, like board agreement that yes, this is happening?
No. The instruction I was given was that the community charter is what needs final sign off. And that's where I'm at. It's sort of like they need to be able to see some things and need to be shown that it has things to do and governance and is going to be able to stand up. So.
Okay.
And Tracy was awesome enough to add in a line in I think maybe the README that says that it is currently a work in progress, something to that effect, to make it clear.
Oh yeah, very much so.
Now,
that's what we all make it. Sorry.
What about geographic concerns? So if you've got groups that are spread across, like a diverse across geographies, is it worth getting the different geographical parts of those groups involved? I'm thinking here of like we've got this Node Girls Sydney and they're related to Node Girls Melbourne. I don't know if they've got any real relationships with any of the other Node Girls groups. Is it worth reaching out to those specifically and saying, hey, do you want to consider getting involved here? Or is it best to say, like, find a single point of contact for Node Girls?
Yeah, for right now, for Node Girls, for example, they don't have like one person. They don't have a leader. So they have a few between London and, I mean, at this point, Tanya owns pretty much everything in Australia. But then also, my friend Alfred in China was also trying to get something started there. So like he would also be, he's a good separate representation because he also works on CNTM. So I'm thinking along those lines. So yeah, like right now, those are the kinds of people that I'm trying to reach out to because that's especially important for me because I think we're not seeing that in some of the, it's kind of impossible to get folks on like an IRC or a Slack when like parts of the world are, it's just not culturally like what people hang out on as developers for one reason or another. So I'd love to at least be getting this buy-in from like activity on GitHub as well as supporting meeting times like y'all have done to make sure that we're prioritizing voices being heard in very different time zones. So yeah.
Be great to get some China people involved.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think I think I'm going to reach out to my friend Haim, who manages a number of the communities in Beijing. And I need to find somebody else in Shanghai because the developer communities there seem to be pretty different. And then some of my contacts have since moved, but we'll see. But yeah, I think that would be really important. And I still have some work to do in terms of reconnecting with folks in India. So if y'all have suggestions on that, that would be greatly appreciated. We had some friends in Bangalore. I haven't heard from them in a while. So. From the community side, at least.
All right, I'll make it a point to reach out to some of the Node.js folks about this because I think with Node.js, they have a pretty good traction going in South America as well. So that instead of thinking of geographic diversity, that maybe could be a good way to start reaching out to the South American contingent.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else for public business?
The other agenda item that we didn't add to the agenda, at least the one labeled, was investigate moving NVM to the foundation.
Yeah, I removed that just simply because it was ending up being status reports, but
yes, should we remove the label, or it hasn't had any movement for 20 days, but it is post-holiday, so I'm just keeping an eye on it, hoping things keep moving forward on it.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely something we should think about. The version management group, maybe push them to decide if it's something that they want to keep going or if it's mute for now.
Yeah. So let's it's still, I think the label is appropriate still. So let's leave the label on, and then next meeting let's actually discuss it. If there's been no movement from that group, let's form a request to that group to come back to us with some sort of proposal regarding NVM specifically, but ideally regarding a more strategic position.
Oh, I think we already have NVM. Like they told us we can't bring in NVM without a more standard, without agreeing on standards and what it should support and requirements to begin with. But the question is, do we want at the end of the day something with those standards in the foundation? And should it could be NVM with some changes at that point or something else, and that's still kind of pending for them.
Okay.
Oh, but that reminds me, Node inspect, which I couldn't tag, so I guess that's why it's not on the agenda. Do we want to bring that into the foundation? I opened that issue. It's one of the top ones in the repo.
So is there a position on the CTC for this? I've missed the last couple of CTC meetings. Is there a position outside of like one of the subgroups?
I think Rich Trott has been championing this a lot.
Yeah, this is one that I don't think we have. There's much disagreement on it. I think people are still kind of like not sure what to do about the whole debug thing, but the old debug protocol is going away. Node, since we're not going to have a command line debugger, we need to have something there. I think there's general consensus on doing this. It's just a matter of figuring out the details.
Discussing it was, yes, do it, but go to the TSC and request, basically to request it.
Just to be clear, I think most people seem to have been positive on it, but some people definitely are not so into it. Yeah.
Oh yeah. There. I'm not sure about. Did you get a sense that some CTC members weren't positive on it, or just collaborators in general?
I'm not sure if anyone on the CTC isn't. I know I'm generally positive for it.
Yeah.
What are the objections?
Small core. Not wanting to add more stuff.
But this request to us is about bringing the repo in.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's not about, like, we're not interested in what goes into Node Core. It's about repo ownership.
Well,
So is there any reason that we would object to that? Like, has that been any proposed objections to that?
Not that I've seen.
No, there has been discussion of, bundling it in as an NPM or something like that, but that's a separate step from this.
I mean,
okay. So my suggestion with this would be that that we could just vote here and agree to bring it in pending agreement from the CTC, unless you're saying that the CTC has already agreed.
I'm not sure if we formally agreed or not. I think it was discussed in one of the meetings, but I don't remember. Bert asks, is it under active development? Yes, very much so, as far as I know.
I'll post in the repo.
At very least, I believe the codebase is actually better than the current Node debugger, and they act like very, very similar.
It's not hard to be better than the current Node debugger.
Yeah.
Have we heard from the active maintainers? Is this something they want to do 3x3 and?
Jen was at the conference and was the one sort of saying, "Hey, is this something we should do?"
And he opened the pull request on Node Core, didn't he?
Yeah, he seems pretty positive about it.
Yeah, he's on board. He's the issue. The meta issue is in the diagnostics repo, and he owns that issue.
So how about this? How about we take a vote here and say, do we want it in the thing pending CTC, a vote on the CTC? So defer it to them. Like, we will pre-okay it, but then ask the CTC to just give a final sign-off. Does that sound like a reasonable way to go?
Yeah, I kind of would have a question about, so if we bring the repo in, like, does anything special happen to that then if we decide in the end that the debugger should be, or the inspector, or whatever you want to call it, should be entirely part of core and not even like a vendored module from the foundation? So like, all the source would then live in core and be developed in core instead of having a repo outside and pulling it in from there. Like then we would, I mean, it might not matter that much, but we would have like essentially a defunct repo that we just have to archive or something.
Oh, I think at least the current vision was that most of its development would happen in its own repo,
Yeah,
and
I
it
don't
would be
think that's
vendor.
a great idea, but
You don't think so? Okay.
No, not personally.
I think in the end, this brings it a step closer to our existing governments and license and everything like that. And I can't see how it makes it harder. Other than like what you said, we've got some repo we then get rid of. I don't see any complications.
Yeah, I don't think it really makes it harder. Also keep in mind though that the most of that existing governance stuff can already be done before moving it in.
Okay, and so also according to our scope stuff that we were agreeing on already, this is something that if we do agree here to bring it in, then we just pass it by the board to make sure that they're cool with it, because it does just adjust our scope slightly, but I don't see that it's in any way controversial.
Does it though? Because we maintain the same thing already, pretty much.
Do we though? This.
Well, the thing, like I'm looking at the dependencies, and it's got some pretty heavyweight dependencies. Pulling it in would just means that install image increases significantly, right?
Dependencies? I didn't think it had any dependencies, except dev dependencies.
For Node Inspector?
Node inspect. Node inspect dash
The link-
inspect.
Yeah, the link in the chat for the Uber conference is there. There's no dependencies.
I'm looking at the wrong thing then. Okay.
Yeah, inspector, no way. That's something else.
Sorry, sir. Yeah, I had inspect in my head, and inspector was what I typed. Okay.
So is this?
Got it.
Let's just talk about scope then quickly. Can the argument be made that this is really just a re-implementation of the debugger?
Yes.
I would argue so.
Okay. Okay. I'll still mention it to the board anyway.
I think it's still a good
I'm
idea to
thinking,
mention it to the board too. Yeah.
We're better off just doing it as an FYI and saying, okay, it's an external one that's coming in. Let's FYI them. We don't think it's going to cause any grief.
Yep. Okay. So let's do a quick vote here, let's just include everyone here in this vote. There's some officially TSC and some not, but let's just see. Let's include everyone and be binding with the official ones. So the proposal here is to bring this into the org pending a vote on the CTC. Is there all in favor? Say +1 in the chat, or if you don't have the chat open, you can say +1, or say aye.
Just finding the chat.
Okay. Is there anyone against? Give us a -1 or say no. And is there anyone that would like to abstain that officially needs to abstain? Okay, I'm going to take that as everyone present is for this. So let me make a quick note. Okay. Josh, can you update the issue there and tag the CTC if they haven't already been, and say this needs a vote before it can move in. The TSC is fine with it as long as the CTC is.
Yep, we'll do that.
Okay, too easy. Okay, any other public business? Okay, let's close up the meeting then. Thanks everyone for. Oh, actually, we do have Q&A. Let's quickly do that then. If there's anyone listening on the live stream and you have questions or comments, please drop them in the chat for the YouTube live stream, and we'll see if we can answer them. So let's have a minute or two.
You want to go over the next meeting already?
While we're waiting for that, actually, James has the PR open on TSC membership. Do we want to discuss that at all, or just not at this point?
That was.
Sorry, don't have it up.
Yeah. Just did a second ago, and then I closed it, so I don't know the number.
That was a revised membership rules. Yeah, I think that was just some tweaking.
Well, at the end, we did have a chat about attendance requirements and things like that. Should we leave that though for a later time? What do you think, James? I think I'm asking James.
I think that it still needs a little bit of review. Where is it? I'm trying to find the PR.
It's 142.
142. Yeah.
It helps if I'm on the right repo. So yeah, there's still some things that need to be figured out there. So I just need everyone to take a read on it. It's about a week ago that I updated it, and I know everyone's been busy. So if you would take a review, and then let's look at trying to close on it next. We got the next. The main questions are the activity requirement, and that's where most of the comments are kind of focusing on, is what is a reasonable time frame for non-activity for us to consider removing a TSC member. Keeping in mind that this, the part of the whole idea for this is to set a basic policy at TSC level and have that trickle down into CTC and work groups as well at some point. We just want the TSC to establish the policy first for itself.
Right.
So
I would like to get this in and then have a separate issue started to kind of vet this out and see what people think. But my biggest thing is I would rather consider it a voluntary resignation rather than a removal.
Yeah. In this, the one thing I do have is one threshold for asking a person to voluntarily resign, and then a second threshold for mandatory. If the person doesn't respond or doesn't participate after some certain number of months after being asked to consider voluntarily resigning, then it should become automatic.
Right. So if they're asked but don't become more active,
or didn't even respond, it's like, we have a case where we haven't even heard back from individuals at all about whether they want to continue participating.
Yeah, I see that being the most common use case, and I think it's an important one where someone, for whatever reason, said they're not involved in the project anymore, and they, pretty much just ghost. But of course, we don't want to just like remove them out of band. We want to make sure there's a process for that. But yeah, I mean, if they're not going to respond at all, but that's still, their presence on the list can still affect votes and stuff like that. So I think it's important that we do handle that case.
Okay, so let's review that in GitHub. Are there any questions on YouTube?
Nope.
Okay, let's close out this meeting. Thanks everyone for listening, and thanks everyone for participating. Bye-bye.
Thanks.